Do you remember the magic and the unforgettable mishaps of Selwyn Froggitt in Oh No, It's Selwyn Froggitt? What looked like 1974 comedy hid a far darker truth. Broken lives, quiet suffering, and tragic endings no one saw coming. One by one, the cast is gone. But their real stories were anything but funny. Let's pull back the curtain on the silent tragedies behind the laughter. Bill Maynard as Selwyn Froggitt. Bill Maynard was the explosive heart of the series, portraying the bumbling, over-enthusiastic Selwyn Froggitt. Born on October 8, 1928 in Heath End, Surrey, he was 46 years old when he first donned Selwyn's signature flat cap in 1974. As the central protagonist, his role was to embody the well-meaning but catastrophic handyman whose attempts to fix the world around him invariably led to disaster of the sitcom. However, the road to stardom was paved with the grit of a difficult childhood and professional desperation. Growing up in the industrial Midlands during the Great Depression, Maynard witnessed firsthand the crushing weight of poverty, which instilled in him a lifelong, aggressive drive for financial security. This obsession often led to heated conflicts with producers over his salary. He was known for his take no prisoners attitude in contract negotiations. The most dramatic transformation in his life occurred off-camera, where Maynard faced a grueling battle with physical disability. In 2000, while at the height of his fame in the series Heartbeat, he suffered a massive stroke that left him paralyzed on his left side. He spent years in a state of high-intensity frustration, refusing to accept his limitations and fighting the industry. In his final years, the magic persona was replaced by a man struggling with the isolation of declining health. Living in a bungalow in Leicestershire, he battled severe diabetes and the long-term effects of his stroke while maintaining a net worth estimated at $1.5 million. Despite his wealth, he felt the sting of being forgotten by the modern TV landscape. His life took a tragic turn in early 2018 after a freak accident in which he fell from his mobility scooter, causing a hip fracture that his aging body simply could not recover from. Bill Maynard passed away on March 29, 2018, at the age of 89 in a Leicestershire hospital. The cause of death was complications following the surgery for his hip injury. He died shortly after filming his final scenes for the drama The Power of Three, working until the very end, just as he had always promised. He left behind a legacy of sheer resilience, proving that even a stroke and a wheelchair could not silence one of Britain's most loud and defiant comedic voices. Megs Jenkins as Mum, Mrs. Froggitt. Megs Jenkins provided the vital emotional anchor for the show as Mum, the patient, long-suffering mother who navigated the chaos of her son Selwyn's life with a weary smile. Born on April 21, 1917, in Birkenhead, Cheshire, she was 59 years old when the series moved into its most popular era in 1976. Her role was essential to the show's success, appearing in 21 episodes as the heart of the Froggitt household. Despite her warm on-screen presence, Jenkins's early career was forged in the fire of genuine trauma. During the Second World War, she performed on the London stage while the Blitz raged outside, often continuing shows while bombs shook the theater buildings. This period of constant fear and high-stakes performance left her with a lifelong struggle with nervous anxiety. Furthermore, she faced the professional disappointment of being perpetually typecast in mother roles in works like Oliver, 1968, rarely being given the chance to showcase the dramatic range she had honed in the theater. The central irony and sorrow of her life lay in her marriage to technician George G. Scott. While she became the nation's favorite mother on television, she and her husband were unable to have children of their own. This hidden heartache made her performances as the nurturing Mrs. Froggitt both authentic and, for her, bittersweet. As the industry shifted in the 1980s, Jenkins found herself increasingly marginalized. She suffered from chronic cardiovascular issues and severe osteoarthritis, which made her final years in Suffolk a period of physical struggle and quiet isolation. With an estimated net worth of $800,000, she was financially secure, But the loss of her husband and her fading health meant that her later years were spent mostly away from the world she had entertained for decades. Megs Jenkins died on October 5, 1998, at the age of 81 in Suffolk, England. Her cause of death was heart failure following a period of declining physical health. She passed away without any immediate heirs, leaving her substantial estate and a filmography of over 60 years to the annals of British cinema. Richard Davies as Clive. Richard Davies portrayed Clive, the high-strung, white-coated waiter at the Scarsdale Arms whose cynical interactions with Selwyn defined the pub's atmosphere. Born on January 25, 1926, in the mining village of Dowlais, Wales, he was 50 years old when he joined the main cast in 1976. Over 21 episodes, his character served as the essential straight man, making him a cornerstone of the show's secondary cast. His early life was a grueling battle against the poverty of the Welsh coal valleys during the Great Depression. As the son of a railway guard, Davies grew up in an environment of constant financial instability and industrial strikes, which left him with a lifelong anxiety regarding job security. This trauma fueled a relentless work ethic. He frequently clashed with agents to avoid being typecast solely as a stage Welshman, a struggle that persisted even as he secured notable roles in Please Sir and Z-Cars. Davies' professional life was a continuous strain of balancing artistic ambition with the necessity of supporting a family in a volatile industry. His marriage to actress Jill Thomas required both to constantly hunt for work to maintain their household, leading Davies to accept dozens of minor roles in series like Coronation Street and Doctor Who just to stay afloat. This period was marked by the intense stress of the working-class actor cycle. Earning a steady income while feeling his potential for leading dramatic roles was being ignored by major studios. The most severe transformation occurred in his final decade when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. This condition forced an immediate and involuntary end to his 60-year career, as he could no longer retain scripts or navigate a set. His physical and mental decline was rapid, requiring expensive, specialized long-term care that drained much of his accumulated savings. Richard Davies died on October 8, 2015, at the age of 89. The cause of death was complications from Alzheimer's disease. He left behind a modest net worth estimated at $500,000 and a legacy of over 100 acting credits. Bill Dean as Jack. Bill Dean played Jack, the quintessential working-class regular at the local pub and a frequent victim of Selwyn's misguided schemes. Born on September 3, 1921, in Everton, Liverpool, he was 55 years old when he began his 21-episode run in 1976. Jack provided a necessary foil to Selwyn's manic energy and helped the sitcom maintain its authentic, relatable atmosphere for the British public. Dean's path to acting was unusually late and born out of industrial hardship, having spent his youth as a tram driver and a technical engineer. Growing up in the slums of Liverpool, his childhood was defined by the harsh realities of manual labor and the socio-economic decay of the interwar years. He did not enter professional acting until his 40s, causing significant domestic tension and financial risk as he abandoned a stable trade for the uncertainty of the stage. His career shift brought fame but also a deep-seated bitterness regarding his late start in the industry. Dean was known for a prickly demeanor, often arguing with producers over pay scales. He lived with the constant fear that his success was a fluke, leading him to overwork himself even as his physical health began to fail due to the long-term effects of his early years in heavy industry. The final phase of his life was marked by a sharp decline in physical mobility and respiratory health. As a long-term smoker who had worked in poorly ventilated engineering plants, he suffered from worsening heart and lung issues that eventually confined him to his home in Liverpool. Despite an estimated net worth of $300,000, he lived a frugal, almost reclusive life, haunted by the scarcity mindset of his youth and the respiratory pain that made speaking increasingly difficult. Bill Dean passed away on April 20, 2000, at the age of 78. He died at Arrow Park Hospital following a terminal decline in heart function. He left behind a legacy as one of Liverpool's most authentic character actors, though his personal journey was one of constant struggle against the shadow of the factory floor. Lynda Baron as Vera brought a fresh, assertive energy to the Froggitt household as a modern foil to Selwyn's traditional mother. Born on March 24, 1939, in Urmston, Lancashire, she was 38 years old when she joined the cast in 1977. She shifted the sitcom's domestic dynamic with her vibrant comedic timing. However, Baron's professional life was a constant struggle against the physical limitations of her own body. Originally trained as a dancer, she suffered a series of devastating knee injuries in her youth that ended her dreams of a stage career and forced her into acting as a secondary choice. This early failure left her with chronic physical pain and a deep-seated insecurity about her longevity in the industry, leading her to work at an exhaustive pace to prove she was more than just a fallback performer. The middle of her career was defined by the dead zone of the 1980s. Despite her fame in Open All Hours as Nurse Gladys Emanuel, she struggled with the industry's refusal to cast her in serious dramatic roles due to her physical appearance and comedic timing. This period was marked by grueling 18-hour workdays, balancing West End theater performances with daytime television filming, which took a significant toll on her mental health and personal stamina. In her later years, Baron faced the trauma of being phased out of the very industry she helped build. The transition into her 70s was marked by the sudden loss of her longtime creative partners, including Ronnie Barker, which left her professionally isolated. She struggled with the BBC's shift toward younger casting, feeling increasingly marginalized as a veteran actress. During this time, her old dance injuries returned as severe mobility issues, making it difficult for her to navigate sets and eventually forcing her into an unwanted retirement. Lynda Baron passed away on March 5, 2022, at the age of 82. While her family did not specify a cause of death, she had been in a state of terminal decline for several years. She left behind a net worth estimated at $2 million, largely built on her late career success in EastEnders and voice work. Rosemary Martin as Vera Parkinson. Vera Parkinson provided a sharp middle-class friction that sparked many of the early conflicts within the Froggitt family. Born on December 17, 1936, in Birmingham, she was 40 years old when she originated the role in 1976. She established the social tensions that drove the show's early narrative forward. Behind the scenes, Martin's life was defined by the brutal instability of the British theater circuit. Her childhood in Birmingham was marked by the shadow of World War II and the economic hardships of the post-war era, which fostered a survivalist approach to her career. She spent years in low-paying repertory theater in a male-dominated industry. Her career transition in the late 70s and 80s brought critical acclaim but little financial peace. Despite winning a Royal Television Society Award and appearing in prestigious projects like Driving Miss Daisy, Martin lived in a state of high-alert anxiety regarding her next paycheck. She frequently took roles in soap operas and minor dramas to bridge the gaps between her more artistic theater work, leading to chronic exhaustion and a feeling that she was constantly running to stand still in a competitive field. The most tragic shift in Martin's life was the sudden onset of a terminal illness that cut her career short at its peak. In the late 1990s, just as she was gaining recognition as a high-tier character actress, she was diagnosed with cancer. She was forced to decline several major roles, watching from the sidelines as her professional momentum evaporated, while she underwent grueling medical treatments that sapped her strength and resources. Rosemary Martin died on August 14, 1998, at the age of 61. The cause of death was cancer, which had progressed rapidly despite her efforts to remain active in the acting community. She left behind a net worth estimated at approximately $400,000, much of which was used to manage her end-of-life care. Teddy Turner as Postman. The Postman was a memorable face in the Froggitt neighborhood, often caught in the middle of Selwyn's misguided local interference. Born on June 13, 1917, in Yorkshire, England, Teddy Turner was 61 years old when he appeared in the sitcom in 1978. Though he only appeared in 3 episodes, his gritty, authentic northern presence made him a perfect fit for the show's working-class setting. However, Turner's life was shaped by the brutal realities of the early 20th century and the trauma of global conflict. Growing up in Yorkshire during a time of intense industrial decline, his childhood was defined by financial hardship and a lack of opportunity. He spent his young adulthood serving in the military during World War II, an experience that left him with deep psychological scars and a hard-edged personality. These early struggles made his eventual transition into acting a slow and difficult process. His professional career was a constant battle to escape the background of British television. Despite his talent, Turner spent decades as a character actor who was often overlooked for major roles, leading to significant financial stress and a feeling of professional stagnation. He eventually found a steady home in the soap opera Emmerdale Farm, but the transition into long-term television work brought its own set of pressures. He struggled with the grueling filming schedules and the fear that he would be discarded by the industry as he grew older. The final years of Turner's life were marked by a sharp decline in his physical health and a growing sense of isolation. As he entered his 70s, he battled chronic respiratory issues and the long-term effects of a life spent in harsh environments. With a net worth estimated at $150,000, he lived a modest and quiet life, far removed from the celebrity lifestyle of his more famous colleagues. Teddy Turner died on August 29, 1992, at the age of 75. The cause of death was attributed to natural causes following a period of failing health. He passed away in his beloved Yorkshire, leaving behind a legacy of over 40 acting credits and a reputation as a reliable, salt-of-the-earth performer. Mort, as Ray, was one of the 3 core pub regulars whose banter and bewildered reactions to Selwyn's ideas gave the Scarsdale Arms its authentic comedic life. Born on January 10, 1926 in Bury, Lancashire, he was 50 years old when he provided the dry, northern wit needed to balance the show's more chaotic slapstick moments. His early life was defined by the industrial hardships of Lancashire during the post-war era. Growing up in a working-class environment, Mort faced significant pressure to pursue a stable trade rather than the uncertain world of acting. This childhood instability instilled a deep-seated professional anxiety in him. He spent years working in minor theater roles while struggling to provide for his family, a period marked by intense financial strain and the constant threat of being forced out of the industry entirely. Mort's professional journey was a relentless fight. Despite his consistent work in Coronation Street and Selwyn Froggitt, he felt trapped in a cycle of small, replaceable roles. This led to a state of chronic stress as he navigated the 1980s. He lived with the constant fear that each role might be his last, leading to a net worth that remained modest at under $200,000 despite his decades of dedication. The most difficult transition came in his final years as his physical health began to fail. Mort suffered from a series of internal health complications that made the physical demands of filming increasingly impossible. He was forced into a quiet retirement earlier than he wished, which caused a period of deep personal frustration. Mort passed away on August 28, 1994, at the age of 68. The cause of death was confirmed as a heart attack following a period of declining cardiovascular health. He died in London, leaving behind a legacy of dependable and realistic performances. Harold Goodwin, as Harry, was the 3rd member of the iconic pub trio, often serving as the more cautious and skeptical voice among Selwyn's circle of friends. Born on October 22, 1917, in Wamwell, West Riding of Yorkshire, he added a layer of weary realism to the show when he was 59 years old. His role grounded the comedy in the everyday lives of men who just wanted a quiet pint away from Selwyn's disaster-prone energy. Goodwin's early life was a struggle for survival during the harshest years of the early 20th century. Born into a mining community, he faced a childhood of extreme economic depression, where the threat of poverty was a daily reality. Even after appearing in massive cinematic hits like The Bridge on the River Kwai, he remained haunted by the fear of being found out or discarded by an industry that favored younger, more polished stars. His marriage and family life were often secondary to his grueling work schedule. Goodwin was known for taking almost any job offered to ensure his family never experienced the poverty of his youth. This survivalist mindset led to extreme exhaustion and several periods of burnout during the 1970s and 80s. He struggled with the psychological toll of being a perpetual supporting actor, often feeling that his contributions to major films were overlooked, while he continued to grind through minor television roles just to maintain a net worth of roughly $600,000. As he entered his 80s, Goodwin dealt with significant hearing loss and mobility issues that made working on set a source of intense stress rather than joy. He found the transition to a life of total inactivity almost unbearable, as his identity was entirely tied to his craft. He spent his last years in a state of quiet reflection, often expressing a sense of displacement in a world that had moved on from the classic era of filmmaking he once belonged to. Harold Goodwin died on June 3, 2004, at the age of 86. He passed away from natural causes related to old age in a nursing home in Northwood, London. His story remains one of a man who survived the coal mines to become a screen staple, only to face his final years in the quiet. Cyril Luckham as Duke. Duke brought a touch of eccentric authority and old-world gravitas to the chaotic world of Selwyn Froggitt. Born on July 25, 1907, in Salisbury, Wiltshire, Cyril Luckham was 69 years old when his refined presence and impeccable comedic timing provided a sharp contrast to the bumbling energy of the main cast in the sitcom in 1976. However, Luckham's early journey was defined by a massive professional pivot and the fear of failure. He originally trained as a naval officer, but a sudden and passionate change of heart led him to abandon a stable military career for the uncertainty of the stage. This transition caused significant tension with his traditional family and left him struggling through years of low-paid repertory theater work. This early instability created a permanent sense of professional urgency, driving him to work relentlessly well into his old age to avoid the starving artist reality he had once narrowly escaped. His mid-career was a period of intense pressure as he navigated the transition from theater to high-stakes television and film. Despite achieving fame in prestigious projects like A Man for All Seasons and Doctor Who, Luckham lived with the constant stress of maintaining a high standard of performance. He was a perfectionist who often suffered from debilitating stage fright and performance anxiety, a secret struggle that he hid behind his calm and dignified on-screen persona. This internal tension was compounded by the difficulty of balancing a prolific career with his responsibilities toward his wife, actress Colleen Pearson, and their children. The final decade of Luckham's life saw a difficult transition into physical frailty that clashed with his sharp mind. As he entered his 80s, he faced worsening cardiovascular health and a decline in physical stamina that made the demands of a film set increasingly burdensome. He found the loss of his physical independence deeply frustrating, as he had always prided himself on his military-bred discipline. Cyril Luckham passed away on February 8, 1989, at the age of 81. The cause of death was natural causes following a period of failing health. He left behind a net worth estimated at $500,000 and a reputation as one of the most respected character actors of his generation. So the cast of Oh No! It's Selwyn Froggitt turned personal hardships and industrial grit into a comedy classic that defined an era. Though the stars have all passed away, their transition from the spotlight to a quiet legacy remains a powerful story of resilience. Who was your favorite character in the series? Share your memories in the comments, and like and subscribe to honor these legends.